So here's how the command line interface works for the best books gem that I'm currently building. We can open up and call the method by going into bin best books, and this is printing the scraped data of each century. And I can enter the number of the century for which I want to see the top 10 books. So let's look at the 21st century. I'll enter number 1. It currently takes about a minute to load. That's something that I need to refactor. But while it's loading, let me explain what the code is doing. Best Books is calling the Best Books CLI class the method call. So here is what happens. It puts the best books, which you can already see over here, and then it lists the decades, which is a method that I built that basically prints out the decades by iterating through the data, and then it pulls up the menu. And the menu is what I want to talk about because it's a few loops to be able to interact with the data. So when it loads, it's going to say enter the number of the century which you want to see the top books. We already have that. And I can also type list to see this list of centuries again. And then it enters a loop. As long as that loop does not say exit, which will break the loop, it's going to be able to loop through all of the data. So if the input, which is set to get user input right here, it also strips it and puts it down case, so it fixes any formatting issues. If that input is greater than 0, which basically means it's a number and not a string, we are going to say loading, and here are the top 10 books of our decade method with input, and that prints the name. This basically just goes in and notices the name of the number that you've entered and prints it out. So here it says loading, here are the top 10 books of the 21st century. And then it calls the top 10 method, which you'll see how it works right here. Basically, I can type the number of the book to read the description and the rating and more. So let's look at 1984 by George Orwell. I type 2 and I click enter, and it goes in to the same exact place and pulls out the same title and author, but it also has scraped the data of the rating and the description as it's listed on Goodreads. So once I have the data, I can either type a number, to look at a different book. Let's look at Animal Farm by George Orwell. And this data also pulls up the rating and the description. And I also have the option to type exit, which is going to break me out of that loop, and then exit is going to fully break me out of the top loop. And that then calls the goodbye method, which just says, adios, I hope you're reading a book. And that's how it works. I'm going to refactor it to be faster, I think.